Law schools in the Philippines generally follow a fixed prospectus for their curriculum. The prospectus is a defined list of subjects and when each should be taken. Some law schools will allow their students, to a certain extent, the freedom to choose their subjects, their schedule, and the number of units, provided they do not exceed the maximum load. How should you arrange your class schedule in law school? In this video, I'll be sharing with you 4 tips on how you should arrange your class schedule to maximize your capability. Hi, my name is Lex and welcome to Lex in Motion. In this channel, I'll be helping you build your competence, confidence, and capability in law school. If it's your first time here, welcome, and thank you for finding the time to watch this. If you like what you see, consider subscribing. Now on to the class schedule. Law school schedules are fairly flexible. That is, assuming hindi ka napagsarahan ng section. Here are 4 tips. Tip number 1, set aside at least 1 day for rest and recreation. Law school is a very toxic place and it can really take a toll on your physical, spiritual, and mental health. My first tip is to reserve 24 hours of no work and no school-related activity. I know it makes you cringe, scream, or protest violently, but hear me out. Just like most of you, I'm a working law student. I work hard and I study smart. I find the time and the energy to excel in law school, and the biggest contributor to my success is the 24 hours of time for myself, my wife, and my family. A typical rest and recreation day for me begins on a Saturday night, right after my last class. My wife and I usually set this aside as date night. While I am typically out and about before 5 a.m. each morning, I usually sleep an extra 1 or 2 hours on a Sunday morning. We then go to mass, lunch out with the family, and in the afternoon I am able to engage in my hobbies. That is animation, gaming, and reading for leisure. I also find the time to nap, meditate, and reflect on my goals. Sunday night ends my R&R day. I spend Sunday evenings for planning my week, for work and school, planning my month, and making sure the decisions I'm making are still aligned to my medium and long-term goals. Never, and I do mean never, make the mistake of feeling guilty for resting in law school. Never feel guilty for going out with friends, spending time with your family, or playing Mobile Legends for 12 hours straight, provided you do all of those things on your rest and recreation day. This tip equally applies if you're a full-time student and your school does not allow you to make your own schedule. Your law school will allow you at least 1 day each week to recover your sanity. So that's tip number 1. Set aside and use 24 hours for rest and recreation. Tip number 2 is to maximize your study time. Your time in law school is very, very, very precious. Maximizing your study time means asking yourself this question. If you only have 2 hours to study for an exam in whatever subject, what are the most likely items that will appear in your exam? Use your study time to focus on the materials that will answer that question for you. And I do mean reading the cases in full, the textbooks, the assigned readings, and not some memory aid or some other notes you've downloaded from your Facebook group or other online resources. Use your 2 hours as if your life depends on it. The idea here is that our generation has been called many things, and we're often dismissed as professional crammers. Let us use that to our advantage. Maximize your study time by cramming, By setting yourself a very tight deadline, you are in effect calling on all of your talent to deliver you during crunch time. By maximizing your time, there is absolutely no reason to feel guilty about seemingly wasting your time over the weekend. You know in your heart that each and every minute you spend on studying for law school is actually time spent for law school. Each moment you're reading means you're reading at 100%. Damay na ang dugo, pawis at laman loob. Tip number 3 is for students who have some flexibility over the schedule. Build a schedule on one subject per day, preferably once a week. Meaning if you're taking Corpo on a Wednesday, you'll be thinking only of Corpo on a Wednesday. You won't have to think about it at any other point during the week. Before you go to bed, visualize one thing, one item that you'd like to accomplish the next day that will bring you closest to your goals. On any given night, we have many things on our to-do lists. You have writing case digests, reading the textbook, polishing for recitation if you know you'll be on deck, or even planning for the midterms. Pick one thing from that list that will bring you closest to your goals. By having one subject per day, you'll have fewer things to think about. You can focus on one goal, one action that, if completed, will bring you closest to your goals. Tip number 4. If you have two subjects happening on a single day, combine a major subject with a minor one. If you have time to prepare for both subjects, then good for you. Do that on the same day. In practice, and I am speaking from my experience of only having 2 to 3 hours of solid time for school each day, the best practice is to find chunks of time throughout the week and spread out the load of the major subject. Do the heavy lifting before the day of the class. In fine, the 4 tips for building your law school schedule are: first, set aside 24 hours each week for time for yourself. This is what will keep you focused during the entire week. Second, study all throughout your study time. Study time means study time. Eliminate all distractions in whatever shape, manner, or form. More on this in our future videos. Third, take only one subject per day. This will dramatically increase the quality of your output each day. Finally, if you have to take 2 subjects per day, spread out the extra work in manageable chunks throughout the week. Thank you so much for watching. If you've learned anything in this video, hit the like button below. If you have questions, leave them in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.